I laughed at my husband for not being man enough. I thought it was just a joke, something harmless, something that would push him to try harder, to prove himself. But I was so wrong. Because instead of arguing, instead of defending himself, he left. No warning, no second chances, no begging me to take it back. And now, he's thriving. He's stronger, happier, and more successful than ever. And me? I'm alone, full of regret, watching him build the life I never believed he could have. This isn't the story where I win him back. This is the story of how I destroyed the best thing I ever had because I thought I could get away with it. When I met Nathan, he wasn't the most confident guy in the room. He wasn't the type to command attention, throw his weight around, or act like some alpha male. But he was kind. He was the kind of man who held doors open, remembered my favorite coffee order, and always put my happiness first. He worked as a software engineer, not the most exciting job, but it paid well. He was a little quiet, a little reserved, but he was always there when I needed him. And for a while, that was enough. We got married, built a life together. Nathan was a good husband, always trying to make me happy, always putting my needs before his own. But the truth? I started seeing him differently. The more he gave, the more I stopped appreciating it. I started noticing what he wasn't. He wasn't the loud, confident, take-charge kind of guy. He wasn't aggressive or overly protective. He didn't get into fights or act tough. And at first it was just small thoughts. Why isn't he more assertive? Why doesn't he stand up for himself more? And then, those thoughts became words. And one night, I took it too far. It happened at a friend's party. We were sitting in a group talking about relationships, marriage, and what makes a real man. One of my friends shared a story about how her husband stood up for her when a guy got too close at a bar. Everyone laughed, nodding in approval. Then someone turned to me and asked, "What about Nathan? Has he ever had to step up for you?" And without thinking, without even realizing what I was about to do, I laughed. Not a small chuckle, a full-on laugh. And then I said it. Nathan. Oh, please. He's way too soft for that. If I ever got into trouble, I'd have to protect him. The room erupted in laughter. I looked over at Nathan, expecting him to laugh along, to shrug it off. But he wasn't laughing. He wasn't even smiling. His face was completely still, expressionless. And in that moment, I felt something shift. I had never seen him look at me like that before. Like he was seeing me for the first time and not liking what he saw. But I was too blind to realize what I had just done. Because that was the moment I lost him. I just didn't know it yet. After that night, Nathan changed. Not in an angry, confrontational way. No yelling, no arguments. Just silence. He stopped texting me first. He stopped asking how my day was. He stopped looking at me with the same warmth he always had. At first, I thought he was just upset and needed time. But as the days passed, I started noticing real changes. He started going to the gym every day. He stopped making himself so available. He was too busy to run errands for me or drop everything when I needed him. He started hanging out more with his friends, something he had barely done before. It felt like he was becoming someone else. And then one night, as we were lying in bed, he asked me the question that made my stomach drop. "Do you even respect me, Jade?" I froze. "Of course I do. What kind of question is that?" I scoffed, rolling my eyes. But he didn't argue. He didn't push. He just nodded slowly. And that was the moment I should have realized what was coming. But I was still too arrogant to see it. A few weeks later, I came home from work to find Nathan sitting at the kitchen table. His posture was calm, too calm. Something about the way he was just sitting there, staring at his hands, made my stomach turn. "What's wrong?" I asked, dropping my bag. He looked up at me, his expression completely unreadable. "I'm leaving." I laughed. "What do you mean you're leaving?" I scoffed, crossing my arms. But he didn't react. He just stood up, grabbed a small bag, and walked toward the door. That's when I realized he wasn't joking. "Nathan, wait. You're overreacting. You're really ending our marriage over a joke?" I snapped, my voice rising. He finally stopped and turned to face me. And the look in his eyes? It chilled me. No, Jade, I'm ending this because I finally see things clearly. I was never enough for you, and I think you'll only realize what you had once it's too late. And then he walked out the door. No begging, no looking back. Just gone. And for the first time since we got together, I felt something I had never felt before. Fear. Because deep down, I knew he wasn't coming back. At first, I told myself I was fine. Good riddance. If Nathan wanted to be dramatic and walk out over a joke, then he was never strong enough for me anyway. I convinced myself I'd move on fast. After all, I was still young, attractive, and confident. There were plenty of real men out there, strong, confident guys who wouldn't take things so personally. So I jumped into dating. And at first, I met men who were taller, richer, louder. Guys who had big personalities who made me laugh, who seemed so sure of themselves. But the more I dated, the more I started to notice something missing. None of them cared the way Nathan did. None of them listened the way he used to. None of them made me feel safe, made me feel like a priority. Because the truth? The men I thought were so much stronger than Nathan? They were selfish. They didn't care about me. They cared about winning, about the chase, about themselves. And for the first time, I started to wonder, did I throw away a good man for nothing? But by the time I finally started to see the truth, it was already too late. Days turned into weeks, and I began to see the truth. I was truly alone. I started noticing changes everywhere on social media, in passing conversations. Nathan wasn't just a memory, he was thriving without me. I saw photos of him laughing with someone new, his smile brighter than ever. Every post, every subtle nod in my feed hammered home the fact that he had found happiness and a sense of self I had never allowed him to have. It wasn't that he was bitter or resentful, he was simply moving on quietly, confidently. While I was busy chasing fleeting moments with men who never compared, he was building a life, embracing his worth. And as I scrolled through endless pictures, I couldn't help but feel the sting of regret. I had let my pride and a careless joke cost me everything I once took for granted. The realization was brutal. I wasn't just losing a man, I had lost a part of myself, a chance at true happiness. Now, every time I see his smile in someone else's photo, it feels like a silent reminder of all I had thrown away. I don't get a happy ending. I don't get a second chance. Nathan is gone. Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally. He has moved on. He found a woman who respects him, values him, and never laughs at his worth. And me? I'm still here, alone, wondering how I could have been so blind. I thought I wanted a real man. Someone stronger, louder, more dominant. But what I failed to see was that Nathan was strong all along. Because real strength? It's not about being the loudest in the room. It's about knowing when to walk away from someone who doesn't appreciate you. And Nathan was strong enough to leave me behind. So if you're listening to this, don't make the mistake I did. Because when you break a man who truly loves you, he doesn't argue. He doesn't beg. He just walks away. And once he's gone, he never looks back. Goodbye.